Right now, if you are reading this on a keyboard, look down at your fingers. The layout you are using, QWERTY across the top row, was designed in the 1870s. Not for computers, not for efficiency, not because anyone determined it was the best possible arrangement of letters for human hands. It was designed to solve a mechanical problem that no longer exists, in a machine that no longer exists, for a technology that was replaced more than a century ago. And yet here we are. The QWERTY keyboard layout is used by hundreds of millions of people every day, on devices that the people who designed it could not have imagined, doing tasks that bear no relationship to the original problem it was meant to solve. It is one of the most successful design decisions in history, not because it was good, but because it arrived at exactly the right moment and proved almost impossible to dislodge once it had taken hold. To understand QWERTY, you have to understand the mechanical typewriter, specifically what went wrong with the early ones. The first practical typewriter was developed in the late 1860s by a newspaper editor and printer named Christopher Latham Sholes, working in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Sholes and his collaborators spent years refining the design, and in 1873 they sold the rights to the Remington Arms Company, a manufacturer better known for making guns, which had been looking for peacetime products after the Civil War. The early typewriters had a fundamental mechanical problem. When you pressed a key, a metal arm, called a typebar, swung up and struck an ink ribbon against the paper. If you typed quickly, two type bars could swing up at the same time and physically jam against each other. The more adjacent letters were placed next to each other on the keyboard, the more likely that common letter combinations would cause adjacent type bars to collide. This was not a small problem. Type bar jams were frequent, frustrating, and time-consuming to untangle. They slowed typists down more than any keyboard layout could. Solving the jam problem was the single most important design challenge facing early typewriter manufacturers. Sholes and his collaborators developed a layout that addressed the jam problem by separating commonly used letter pairs. If two letters frequently appeared together in English, like T and H or S and T, they were placed on type bars that were physically far apart from each other, reducing the chance that typing them in quick succession would cause a collision. The result was QWERTY. It was not designed for speed or comfort. It was designed to prevent mechanical failure in a machine built in 1873. The placement of each key was determined not by any study of human ergonomics or typing efficiency, but by the internal mechanical geometry of a specific typewriter's type bar arrangement. Some popular accounts claim that QWERTY was specifically designed to slow typists down, to give the type bars time to return before the next one struck. This is a slight oversimplification. The goal was to prevent jams, not to impose a speed limit, but the effect was similar. The layout that emerged was one that, by modern ergonomic standards, is significantly less efficient than alternatives that would be developed later. Remington began selling typewriters with the QWERTY layout in 1873. Within a decade, it had become the dominant standard in American offices. And once a standard dominates, it creates its own momentum, a phenomenon economists call a network effect. The logic of the network effect is simple and powerful. If most typewriters use QWERTY, then most typing instructors teach QWERTY. If most typing instructors teach QWERTY, then most trained typists know QWERTY. If most trained typists know QWERTY, then employers demand a QWERTY typist. If employers demand QWERTY typists, then typewriter manufacturers build QWERTY typewriters. The circle locks itself. By the 1890s, the first typing speed competitions were being held, and the winners, trained on QWERTY, were producing impressive speeds. This created another reinforcing loop. QWERTY was associated with expert performance, which made it seem validated, which encouraged more people to learn it. The mechanical problem QWERTY had been designed to solve was already becoming less severe as typewriter technology improved. But the layout itself had long since stopped being about the mechanical problem. It had become a standard, and standards have a life of their own. In 1936, a man named August Dvorak, a professor at the University of Washington, patented an alternative keyboard layout that he claimed was significantly more efficient than QWERTY. The Dvorak simplified keyboard placed the most common letters in English, A, O, E, U, I, D, H, T, N, S, on the home row, the row where your fingers naturally rest. This meant that trained Dvorak typists could type a much higher percentage of common English words without moving their fingers off the home row at all. Dvorak claimed this reduced finger movement, reduced fatigue, increased speed, and reduced the rate of repetitive strain injuries. Studies comparing QWERTY and Dvorak have produced results that remain genuinely contested. Some studies showed significant Dvorak advantages. Others, including a famous analysis by economists Leibowitz and Margolis in the 1990s, argued the advantages were overstated or unproven. What is not contested is that the Dvorak layout was never widely adopted, despite decades of advocacy. The reason is precisely the network effect that had locked QWERTY in place. By 1936, hundreds of thousands of typists were trained on QWERTY. Every typing school, every office, every typewriter was built around it. The potential efficiency gain from switching to Dvorak, even if real, was not enough to overcome the enormous coordination cost of switching an entire ecosystem of trained humans and manufactured machines simultaneously. When computers began replacing typewriters in offices from the 1970s onward, the mechanical problem that had created QWERTY ceased to exist entirely. There were no type bars. There were no jams. The entire original justification for QWERTY's design had evaporated. This was, in theory, the moment when the keyboard layout question could have been reopened. Computers were new, software was flexible, the input method was not yet fixed. If there was ever a moment to correct the mistake, this was it. It did not happen. The people moving from typewriters to computers already knew QWERTY. Computer manufacturers built QWERTY keyboards because their customers expected QWERTY. Software was designed around QWERTY shortcuts: Control-Z for undo, Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste, whose physical placement on QWERTY keyboards was partly deliberate and partly conventional. Changing the layout would have disrupted not just muscle memory, but an entire software ecosystem. The network effect held. QWERTY crossed from the typewriter age to the computer age completely intact, carrying with it a design rationale that had ceased to be relevant somewhere around 1950. Today, QWERTY is the default keyboard layout on virtually every computer, laptop, tablet, and smartphone in the English-speaking world. It is taught in schools. It is the assumed input method for almost all software. Billions of people have invested thousands of hours learning it. Dvorak remains available. It can be activated in the settings of most operating systems with a few clicks. A small community of enthusiasts use it. Typing speed records have occasionally been set on Dvorak, but it never broke through, and at this point, it probably never will. The window for a coordinated switch has most likely closed. Other alternative layouts have been developed: Colmac, Workman, and others, each claiming ergonomic advantages over QWERTY. They have even smaller user bases. The QWERTY story is sometimes presented as a cautionary tale about bad design persisting through inertia. That framing is not quite right. The original QWERTY design was not bad. It was appropriate for the problem it was solving. The problem was that the design became standard before anyone had the chance to evaluate whether it was optimal for any other purpose. What the QWERTY story actually reveals is something more unsettling. It reveals that in systems involving large numbers of coordinated human behaviors, the first solution to achieve critical mass tends to become permanent, not because it is the best solution, but because the cost of coordinating a switch to something better exceeds the benefit of the improvement. There is no conspiracy here. No one designed QWERTY to be a permanent standard. No one decided it should persist into the age of computers. It persisted because of a simple, powerful, and largely invisible force. Once enough people have committed to a way of doing something, the accumulated investment of everyone who learned it becomes the primary obstacle to doing it differently. Every time you type the word "the," one of the most common words in English, your left hand moves from T to H while your right hand stays on E. T and H, two of the most frequently adjacent letters in English, are on opposite sides of the keyboard. That arrangement was chosen in the 1870s to prevent two metal arms from hitting each other inside a machine that no longer exists. The machine is gone. The problem is gone. The solution to the problem is still on your desk, which raises the same question this series keeps returning to. The systems we operate inside feel inevitable. They feel like the natural result of some rational process of getting things right. But very often, they are the fossilized solutions to problems that stopped existing long ago, held in place not by logic, but by the sheer weight of everyone who learned the old way and never had a reason to change. The keyboard is just the most visible example. Look for the others.